Is Jakku the answer to everything? If it isn't, then those of us who invest our time and money into the sources of canon beyond the movies will have a legitimate gripe because all signs are pointing to it. First, I don't think it's any coincidence that Rey was on Jakku of all places in the galaxy. I also don't think it's coincidence that both Kylo Ren and Snoke feel an awakening as soon as she leaves Jakku, possibly for the first time in her life, and at the very least for the first time in many years, at least since we've seen her being abandoned in The Force Awakens. I believe something on Jakku is either the reason why she has become so powerful, or is the reason why she was taken there by somebody in the first place. So what do we really know about Jakku? In the Aftermath books, we learn that Darth Sidious, or Emperor Palpatine if you prefer, took a great deal of interest in the planet as far back as a couple of years before the Clone Wars even began. Palpatine, along with Yub Tashu, who's one of his most trusted and closest advisors, who is described as wearing purple robes and a funny hat similar to other Imperial dignitaries, go to a spot on Jakku and deploy several excavation droids to start digging up this spot. Before they can fly away, a boy named Gallius Rex stows away aboard Palpatine's ship, the Imperialis. When Palpatine discovers the boy aboard his ship, he offers him a choice, to simply die a quick death or live for a greater purpose. When the boy says he wants a new life, Palpatine goes on to say the following: "Good, then I have your first task, young Galley. You will go back to Jakku. The spot in the dirt where my droids were operating is precious, not just to me, but the galaxy at large. It is significant. It was significant 1,000 years ago, and it will be significant again. You will go back there and you will monitor my droids' excavation of the ground. Then I will send more droids and they will build something there below the ground. I want you to guard this space. Can you do that?" Now, Gallius obviously accepts this task, and throughout the book we learn precious little more information about this boy and how he grows up to be a very important member of the Empire. Some even think he'll turn out to be Snoke. Now, I'm not going to get into that particular theory here, but rather we'll focus on what, if anything, this all has to do with Rey and why she's on Jakku, which to me seems like no coincidence. It's first interesting to note that it seems the site itself, and not a particular item he's digging up, is what's important. It's also curious that Palpatine says it was significant 1,000 years ago, and if you recall in The Phantom Menace, Ki-Adi-Mundi says that the Sith have been extinct for millennia, or 1,000 years. Of course we know that the Jedi were wrong and the Sith never truly went extinct, but this implies the Sith abandoned the site when they went into hiding from the Jedi, which, again, very curious. This site could also be something similar to the cave on Dagobah we first see in The Empire Strikes Back, the one Luke is instructed by Yoda to go into and then has his Force vision involving Darth Vader. We also know, thanks to Season 6 of the Clone Wars, that Dagobah is one of the purest places in the galaxy with the Force, due mostly to its abundance of life. Perhaps at one point Jakku also had abundant life, but something the Sith either did or built on Jakku changed all that and turned it into the harsh desert planet it is now. The Sith may have attempted to build something similar at one point on Dagobah, but it failed to have the same results it did on Jakku, and now all remains is a place strong with the dark side, or a dominion of evil, as Yoda called it in The Empire Strikes Back. And yes, I realize that in the old expanded universe, we learn a great deal about the cave on Dagobah, but like it or not, that is no longer considered canon, and can be changed. We've also learned from several sources of canon that there is supposedly a secret research facility on Jakku, which is most likely what Palpatine had built on that site after the excavation was complete. We know Palpatine is very interested in discovering the source of the dark side, and has even been sending teams out into wild space and even beyond, believing it lay somewhere beyond the borders of the galaxy. I would guess that this research facility he built was in conjunction with his ongoing search for the source of the dark side, and probably part of some bigger master plan. Whatever that is exactly, we don't know. But we do know that Yub Tashu, who became a member of the Imperial's Future Council, which was a collection of high-ranking Imperials left after the defeat at Endor, tasked with deciding the future course of the Empire, said this of Palpatine at a meeting of this council. What I mean to say is that Palpatine was a smart man, smarter than the combination of all of us here. We must emulate his path. The Emperor knew the dark side was his savior, and so we too must make the dark side ours. We've also seen in the comic book series Shattered Empire that some sort of plan went into action after the death of Palpatine, one he himself masterminded should he ever perish. What that plan is attempting to achieve, again, we don't yet know. So what happened to this research facility on Jakku after the Battle of Jakku, which was essentially the last stand of the Empire? This we also don't know for sure, but thanks to the book Rey's Survival Guide, we know that there is this group called the Dead Enders. They are old, white-bearded, and seemingly crazy men who wear scraps of Imperial armor, and who seem to be still guarding something on Jakku. And Rey even speculates in her journal that it's an old base that was rumored to have existed. All she knows is that when people approach the spot they're apparently guarding, the Dead Enders throw rocks at them and spout off strings of numbers. Okay, now with all that being said and gotten out of the way, there are a couple theories here about Rey I'd like to present. Some of them may sound more plausible than others, while some may be downright ridiculous. Either way, let me know in the comments below which, if any of them, sound possible to you. Now, in a previous video of mine, I had this theory that Rey was actually born on Jakku, and when we see the ship flying away, she's simply being left behind by parents who are more or less irrelevant to the story. I'll even cite a passage in Rey's survival guide, which is a bit contradictory, but worth mentioning nonetheless. My name is Rey. I've been here my whole life, scratching out a living with the lost and the broken. I don't know how I got here or why, but I know it was a mistake, and somebody out there will make things right someday. It's a bit confusing because in one breath she says she's been here her whole life, and in the next she says she doesn't know how she got here. What we can at the very least take from this is that if Rey has ever been away from Jakku, she has no recollection of it. So what if Rey was born on Jakku to random parents, possibly Imperials that were stranded there after the battle, and whatever this site is that Palpatine had excavated had something to do with why she's so powerful with the Force? Heck, I'll take it a step further and suggest that maybe she was born to somebody who was still working at that research facility, assuming of course work is still being done there. What if she was a creation of some kind of this facility? What if it's a creation of the dark side? Maybe she's some type of clone of Palpatine's, the culmination of whatever plan he put into motion after his death. What if the work going on at this facility was so secretive that only a select few even knew about it, like perhaps Yub Tashu, who I mentioned earlier? What if even he didn't know what Palpatine was up to, and he trusted no one other than those who were working there at the facility? The guards outside, the Dead Enders that I brought up earlier, may have been some of his most loyal troops that are still trying to carry out his last command, given to them 30 years ago. They may, over time, even have been corrupted by the dark side power that's there. We see something similar like this happen in the Lando comic book, when royal guards assigned to guard Sith artifacts aboard a ship are corrupted by the dark side. Then there's the possibility that Rey was brought to this research facility at a very young age, much younger than we even see her being left behind in the Force vision. What if she's the daughter of Luke Skywalker and was kidnapped as a baby, explaining why she has no memory of living elsewhere, and was brought to the facility for experimentation of some sort, or simply to corrupt her? In the book Bloodline, we know Leia had a hard time getting in contact with Luke and her son Ben because they were on the move a lot. What if they're looking for Luke's daughter? This would explain something Pablo Hidalgo recently said about how Kylo and Rey had never met before the events of The Force Awakens, but he still knows about her. It also explained Kylo's line in the novelization, "It is you," when the saber chooses Rey over him. And yes, I realize that I've given different explanations to these things elsewhere, but I'm very much open to any possibilities. I've had many conversations in the comments sections of my videos that have opened my mind and eyes to new possibilities, so thanks to those of you who do leave comments. For all we know, she may have even been trained for a while at this research facility by someone, who knows who, but maybe a former secret apprentice of Palpatine perhaps. I again point to the comic books, in particular Darth Vader, where we see Palpatine was not opposed to replacing Vader as his apprentice. It would also explain how she suddenly remembered how to do a Jedi mind trick and how she mind probed Kylo Ren. And if she was trained by a secret apprentice of Palpatine, it would explain why, as so many like to point out, she seems to have a similar fighting style with a lightsaber. Maybe this secret apprentice will turn out to be Benicio del Toro's character in Episode 8. Maybe it'll even be Ezra, though I really don't think that's likely, but as a huge fan of Rebels, it'd be pretty damn cool. Okay, so one of my biggest problems with so many Rey theories out there is this. Why did someone leave her with Unkar Plutt on Jakku? Of all beings and all places on the galaxy, why him and why there? Well, assuming any of these theories I just brought up are on the right track, that she was either born on Jakku to random parents, a creation of some kind at this facility, or brought there at a very young age, leaving her with Unkar Plutt may very well be your best worst option if you had to leave the planet and couldn't take her with you. Why would I think that? Well, we know that Unkar is basically the top dog on Jakku, so if her parents were nobodies, they may have had little choice but to sell her to him. Or maybe part of the deal was he'd look after her as much as he could for them. Which, in Rey's survival guide, it does say Unkar looked after her and even kept other scavengers off her back. It's also possible that whoever was either caring for her or training her at this secret facility had to leave Jakku for some reason, with intent on coming back for her, and they paid Unkar, again your best worst option, to watch her until they returned. Why not just take her with them? Maybe they couldn't take her for her own protection or her own safety. Maybe being on Jakku near the dark side power is hiding her from someone being able to sense her, like Snoke, Luke, or whoever else might be out there. It explained why Snoke and Kylo Ren both felt an awakening as soon as she left Jakku. It's also possible that whoever left her there did put some kind of mental block in place, and that's why she's slowly remembering the Force powers she learned earlier. And it also explains that curious line in Rey's survival guide about having lived on Jakku her whole life, but not knowing how she got there. Maybe her memory is just too jumbled up to put it all together, but she knows there's something more, and that there's somebody out there that did tell her that they were coming back for her. It would explain why she seems to be so interested in staying there and waiting for somebody, because whoever did leave her there did care about her and fully intended to come back. Another curious note from Rey's survival guide is that Rey says that when she was just a kid, Unkar sent out 6 of his thugs to whatever the Dead Enders were guarding. Only 4 came back, and all they retrieved was some old brittle stormtrooper armor that Unkar ended up just throwing away. They also reported that there was nothing there but some empty caves and rock slides. What if Unkar sent his thugs there because whoever left Rey with him promised him there'd be treasure of some type or valuables for him to plunder? What if he sent his thugs there because after so much time went by, he figured nobody was coming back for Rey, and he can now feel safe about robbing the place? It's yet another curious entry in a book full of curious entries. One that hopefully I'm not putting way too much stock in, but I have to believe they were very careful about just what information they let come out in this book. Maybe they really did hide a bunch of really helpful hints in the most unlikely of places. And just a couple more quick notes before I wrap this up. First, for those of you who think Finn is the one awakening, perhaps setting foot on Jakku is what awakened him. I'm not saying I'm either for or against this theory. I honestly haven't really thought about it too much, but I know a lot of people believe it, so I figured I'd throw it out there. Also, if you believe Rey to be the daughter of Han and Leia, or a descendant of Obi-Wan Kenobi, she could have also been kidnapped at a young age and taken to Jakku for similar reasons. She may also be significant in some other respect and have been brought to Jakku and left at the research facility for reasons that we can't even begin. Well, that's all I got for you this time. Let me know in the comments below what you think about all this. And if together we can come up with enough theories, I'll probably make a second part of this video expanding on it with all the input I get. I also do hope to make a video discussing more about Gallius Rex and whether or not he's Snoke. With all that said, please subscribe to my channel for more videos like this one to come. If you're already a subscriber, then thanks for your continued support. And as always, thanks for watching.